Hello folks, this is Mohan Raghavan. Today we are going to see how to create the S3 bucket using the Boto3 SDK itself. In previous videos we have seen how to create the S3 bucket using the console and the CLI commands. In this video we are going to see how to use the S3 bucket using the Boto3. So before starting, just as a precaution, I will open the S3 management console and you can see here there is no S3 buckets in that no files are available now. Because in simple you can see there is no S3 buckets. Then we are going to the three kind of Python modules, which is like creating the S3 and dumping the file to the S3 and deleting the S3 bucket totally. So we are going to walk through each and every file one by one. The first one, import statement. As usual, you are importing the Boto3 to in order to execute the different kinds of APIs available inside the Boto3. Then after we are going to import one kind of exception in order to handle the client error. Then after we are going to give the unique name Boto3 S3 90 MUKU. So this is the unique name I'm going to give for my bucket name. In case if you don't find this as unique, you will be getting the client error. So we are capturing in the except block. Then after in the try block, we are creating the Boto3 client. So before getting into this Boto3 client, we will understand you may create the client or resource. In both ways, it will be working, but little bit of changes will be in the code. In simple understanding, client will be like a low-level services access inside the AWS. In case of resource, it's the higher level object-oriented service access. In case of S3, we can use both. In some places, we are going to use the client. In some places, we are going to use the resource. So first, we will understand the bucket name. So it should be unique. Hope it will be unique in the coming stage. And after the region name, so region name US-US and -2. Then I'm creating the client of S3. Then using the client, I'm just creating the bucket. So bucket is equal to bucket name. It's a predefined parameters. And after that, we are giving the create bucket configuration. Here, if you want to use some configuration, let's say region name. So there you need to mention the create bucket configuration is another one. It should be having the dictionary, which will have the key value as the location constant and region name. Then in case if you're having any issues in the try block, it will be captured in the client error. You can see the same thing. Then after we are getting the response from there. So S3 client dot list buckets. In case if you have created the bucket as you mentioned here, so it will be having all the list of buckets. Then you can iterate through the for block and you will be seeing the bucket name there easily. So I think it's clear. So we'll run it this. So create S3 demo. So existing bucket, it has been created. Now let's say in case if I want to create the same file or if I want to create the same S3 bucket, what happens? Here you can see the exception called bucket already owned by you. So that means that the same name is already available, so you don't need to use the same name. But however, we can see the existing bucket. So let's jump into the console and see whether it has been created or not. Refresh the console. And here you can see the same bucket has been reflecting here. Click on the bucket and see any objects are available inside that by default. No, the bucket is empty. And you can upload any objects or any files inside this. Okay, by seeing this error, you can understand it is not an item potent. That means that you cannot execute so many times and you cannot expect the same output. Next step will be S3 dump file. So in this case, whatever we have done in the normal console that we are going to do, which is nothing but we are just going to copy one file from local to the S3 bucket. Now, as we know that it is the same bucket name and the file path, actually where it resides, if you go to the projects and you can see, I just copy pasted the same file, boto3-notes.txt. Then, however, we can give the different file name inside the S3 bucket. But I am using the same file name, boto3-notes.txt, inside the S3 bucket also. Then here I am creating the client, Boto3 S3 client. Then again it is S3 client.upload file. Here I need to give the file path where it's actually residing in your local system and the bucket name which is available in your S3 and the file name. What is the name you are going to give inside your S3 bucket. Then after if it is completed, the file will be added. Fine. So then after what we are going to do is like we are going to see the objects inside this. So for that we are going to create the resource. In case if you don't find any methods in some kind of applications, let's say client or resource, you can jump into the other method. So for this, I have some, let's say, URL that I will be sharing in the description. But however, now we are going to use the resource to get the list of objects inside your S3 bucket. Now I have created the S3 resource, and the bucket I need to give the bucket name. So that means that now inside the S3 I need to create the bucket resource. So for that I am creating the same S3 resource dot bucket, and I will be giving the bucket name which I used to place the file. Now my bucket resource is available. So inside the bucket resource, whatever the objects I have, I want to see that. So for that reason, I have another for loop. It will be displaying all the things. So let's execute and see what happens. Sorry, I need to change to S3 dump file. So file has been added, and you can see here the S3 bucket has been added with the file called boto3-notes.txt, and the bucket name is mentioned here. Okay, fine. We will jump into the console and see. Refresh the console. So the nodes has been added here. Okay, fine. Now we will just walk through one more time what happens when compared to the create S3. In case of create S3, you have created one client. Using the client, you have used the method called create bucket, and you have created a new bucket. Then after using the same client, you are using the list buckets, and you can see the number of buckets available inside your S3 service. So in this case, we have used only one service, which is called our S3 client. So now coming to the dump file. So we have used two kind of APIs. One is client, another one is resource. The client was used to upload the file, and the resource was used to get the number of objects inside your S3 bucket. So now we will go to the delete S3 bucket. So this is same like the previous one, but in this case, we are going to delete all the buckets. So in general, you need to understand when you delete the bucket, you need to empty the bucket, then only you can delete the bucket. So in order to do that, we are going to do the different kinds of steps here. The bucket name is as usual Boto3 S3 90 MUKU, and the S3 resource here I am creating the resource. So okay, fine. Then after I am creating the bucket resource. So that means that I am just getting hold of the bucket. Now inside the bucket I am getting all the objects. So that means that before deleting the entire S3 bucket, I am deleting all the objects inside the specific S3 bucket. So how can you mention the bucket specifically? So you are giving the bucket name here. So it will be taking only those bucket, and it will be emptying all the objects inside your bucket. So how are you doing? By deleting the objects inside that. Okay, fine. After that, all objects are removed from the particular bucket what you have given. Then after bucket resource, we have the resource itself. Then you can delete the entire bucket. Then after doing this one, we are displaying the bucket has been deleted or not. And some of the configuration or some of the methods samples you can see in this URL. I will be sharing this URL in the description. So before doing that, we will confirm whether the bucket is available. Yes, and the file is available inside your bucket. Now we are going to execute the delete S3 bucket. Here you can see all the objects has been removed from the particular bucket, and the bucket itself got deleted. Now if you go to here and go to the Amazon S3 level, you can see there is no buckets available. Obviously, if the bucket is not available, there is no objects inside the bucket. Now let's say I'm executing one more time the same code. Here you can see no socket, so no such bucket. So that means that it is not item potent. That means that whenever you delete, it has to be there. If it is not there, you will be getting this kind of errors. But in case of CLI command, there is item potent. So what is the error we are getting? No such bucket. So you are trying to delete the bucket which is not available at all. So in that case, you need to handle with a try and catch block so that you can handle if the bucket is available, it will be deleted. Else it will be handled in your exception block. And same way we can create the different kinds of utility methods. That means that rather than typing here or hard coding the value, you can give the parameter as a utility method so that you can use to create the bucket or dump the file or delete the S3 bucket. Even you can delete a specific object inside your S3 bucket. So this is very basic about the S3 buckets using the Boto3. However, I will be sharing all the descriptions and all the, let's say, URLs which I used to create this code snippet for you. So thanks for watching and have a great day.